Today, I'm going to share with you a true scary story about a famous town called Burns Road in the big city of Karachi, Pakistan. This story is from the time when Britain ruled over South Asia, before Pakistan became its own country separate from India. When the British left and Pakistan was created, many people had to leave their homes and belongings behind to move to the new nation. The fight for freedom from British rule was very difficult, and many brave fighters lost their lives. This real event I'll tell you about is connected to the suffering and deaths of those freedom fighters. Their souls are still trapped in the places where they were tortured and killed in such misery long ago. Even today, the areas of Burns Road where they died are haunted by their restless spirits. On the busy Burns Road stood a creepy old 10-story building called the Prospect Building. It was built in the 1800s for a rich Hindu man who left for India during partition. After that, many families came to live there after moving to the newly made Pakistan. Rani's grandparents got an apartment on the 5th floor in 1947, but people said this building was haunted from a long time ago. Rani, standing before the decrepit building, looking up apprehensively.
I've heard such scary things about this place.
19-year-old Rani said, struggling with her family's bags. A gross, musty smell came from the open lobby, making her get goosebumps. Even though it was run down, the Prospect Building looked unsettling and grand. Fancy carved arches and old balcony railings showed it used to be beautiful. But something evil seemed to be hiding there too.
They say this whole area is cursed.
Rani's younger sister whispered after they went into her aunt's dark, gloomy apartment.
During the fight against British rule, many fighters died horrible deaths right here.
Rani shivered, the shadows seeming to move with unseen things.
You mean their spirits are still around?
Some believe their suffering souls never left.
Terrified by what her sister had told her, Rani asked her aunt,
Is this place really haunted?
Her aunt replied,
No, dear, that was just an old story from the past. Otherwise, do you think we would still be living here?
Although Rani's aunt said the place wasn't haunted, her eyes showed she might not be telling the full truth. The look in her eyes didn't match the words she was saying. Even though her aunt denied the haunting claims, Rani could sense her aunt was hiding something about the spooky history of this old building they called home. What was supposed to be a short visit became a full night as a huge monsoon storm hit Karachi. Loud thunder shook the rickety windows while bright lightning lit up the angry clouds.
Looks like we're stuck here till morning,
Rani's dad said, looking out at the heavy rain. Rani felt very scared to spend the night in this place. In her gloomy room, Rani tossed and turned, unable to sleep on the creaky bed. She felt like someone was watching her from every shadow in the room. Her eyes darted at every small noise, the old building creaking, wind on the windows. Logically, she knew it was just an old run-down place, but a part of her felt an evil force hiding just out of sight. Maybe her aunt's spooky words stuck in her mind. Past midnight, Rani really needed to use the bathroom. She lit a small kerosene lantern and went down the creepy, creaking hallway. As the darkness surrounded her, she felt a cold chill on the back of her neck. Each step made a groan from the warped floors. Rani's heart raced as she pushed open the mouldy bathroom door. Icy fear shot up Rani's spine as she hurried to finish. A thump. The lantern's flame went out, leaving her in total darkness. Rani felt her throat tighten as a freezing breath of air touched her skin. Her shaky hands couldn't get the matches to light. That's when she saw them. Those those two bright red glowing eyes staring at her angrily from the dark bathroom window. Rani tried to scream, but no sound came out. She was so terrified of those evil eyes. As Rani stared into those glowing red eyes, she felt an intense force squeezing her heart. It made her body grow weaker and weaker until she finally passed out, collapsing on the bathroom floor. When Rani's mother didn't find her in the bed, she started calling out her name loudly, but Rani didn't answer. Finally, Rani's mother found her daughter's unconscious body crashed on the bathroom floor. The mother's screams of horror woke up everyone else in the building. With no signs of Rani waking up on her own, she was rushed quickly to the hospital. Everyone was terrified, not knowing what had happened to make a healthy young woman suddenly lose consciousness.
No! Leave me! Leave me!
Rani screamed, her body violently shaking in the bright hospital lights. For 2 days, Rani was trapped in a nightmare where scary faces appeared in every shadow, feverish visions of those hateful red eyes burning into her, never stopping, never blinking. Her hoarse screams filled the hospital as nurses rushed to hold down her thrashing body. Rani's terrified family could only watch, praying her torment would end. Weeks later, Rani finally understood the terrible truth. As her trembling calmed, she told her story. The landlord then revealed the rest.
The Prospect building held many Indian fighters against British rule.
The old man said gravely.
It's believed a very violent rebel was captured, badly beaten here, before killing himself.
Rani realized in horror. It was that rebel's vengeful entity she saw, those hellish red eyes. Though her body healed, Rani's mind was scarred forever. Even decades later, seeing the Prospect building brought back visions of that night like an open wound. Loved ones felt helpless as small things, a flickering shadow, cold air, would make Rani fall into fits of terror, trapped by the memory of those hateful crimson eyes burned into her brain. Rani's nightmarish experience haunted her subconscious, the terrifying memory appearing in dreams for years. So, it was no surprise that the Prospect building itself fell victim to the restless spirits living there. Later, Rani's aunt confided that their family had experienced several terrifying incidents since living in the old building. She admitted they'd witnessed strange noises, objects moving on their own, and even glimpsed shadowy figures late at night. However, with their poor financial situation, they had no choice but to continue residing there despite the horrors. Rani's aunt explained that while the malevolent spirits seemed to leave the long-term residents mostly unbothered, any outsiders or visitors were prone to experiencing the brunt of the hauntings' wrath. This revelation explained why Rani was besieged by supernatural forces that terrible night. By the early 2000s, construction workers preparing renovations started experiencing weird things. There was one section, a wall with a large black door on the ground floor that could not be demolished. No matter how hard the construction workers tried, supernatural forces would not allow humans to tear down that particular area. It remained untouched, exactly the same as it had been from the very beginning. Machines would randomly break, screams and cries came from empty rooms, and some even saw glimpses of angry, red eyes in the dark. After many ritual cleanings failed, the haunted building was finally knocked down, leaving behind the indestructible wall with the black door as it is. A big shopping mall called Karachi Midtown Mall was built there instead. But even today, strange events happen at midnight, lights flickering, things moving on their own, and sometimes a crying woman's face appears on the mall windows. This is how the Prospect building looked like back in 1940s. To this day, That old part of Burns Road is known for its scary, ghostly stories. This eerie true story was shared with me by a friend, a chilling account experienced by her Aunt Rani, a haunting memory that left a deep mark on her psyche that refused to fade with time. If you too have a chilling tale rooted in the struggle for freedom, do share it with us using our form in the description, and we shall make every effort to share it with our listeners. Thank you for listening, and we'll have a new story for you soon.